someone I've worked with for years, Pam Wakrowski, provided some comments. Inappropriate repairs to the exterior building envelope had taken a toll on the ongoing stability of the historic fabric of the facility. In March 2001, Pam retained their first consultant to conduct an existing conditions study of the exterior building. With this information, they were able to establish a plan for the appropriate repair of the building. That was 2001 when Pam was first involved. My first involvement was 2005 when we took a look at the building after their first consultant had looked at it. And many years later, we are, after 3 phases of the project, we're here and we've completed the work. And it's been a great experience. It's been longer than any of us had hoped it to take. But I think one of the most interesting things about the project right now, as looking back at where we started and where Pam started in 2001, is that so many things have changed in the world since then. We are in this new normal of COVID. We're in this new technology world that we did not have back then in the early 2000s for how to work on buildings of this age and this nature, and with the deterioration that it had experienced since the early 1900s. When we first looked at it, we would do our documentation through photographs, digital photos back in the early 2000s, but they were still digital photographs and they were keyed to a PDF drawing. As we finished the first phase about 7 years ago, it was a masonry repair. The towers were repaired. We replaced a lot of the masonry, a lot of these elements called cast stone, which are essentially a high grade precast concrete for all the trim elements. And back when we did the first phase, we did a mock-up window. And the method we used then was to disassemble the tracery, which is the decorative elements around the stained glass. We documented each piece and we sent it off, each piece off to a precast contractor, fabricator. They would then clean up all of the elements and then make molds out of rubber and cast new pieces based on those rubber negatives. What that would do is it would precisely mimic the original geometry of the openings, which some had shifted, some had moved out of plumb, some had just deteriorated. So we lost some of the historic fabric that way. What we did this time in 2018, the end of 2018, when we started this phase, is we used laser scanning, and we used a LiDAR technology to scan all of the traceries, and it created a 3-dimensional model, a solid model that we then gave to the precast fabricator, and they would refine the model, take out the imperfections in the geometry, clean up the geometry to make it a more regular element and replicable the way the elements were probably cast back in the early 1900s. And they created a brand new set of molds, and they were cut from styrofoam and then cast for us. And what it did is it changed the way we were going to do the stained glass restoration. It changed the way we were going to sequence the project. It changed the way we would put staff members on the site, specifically our self-perform folks, namely someone who hasn't changed from the very first day we looked at it, Keith Lyford. He's our mason foreman, and he's been my confidant mason restoration guru since the late 1990s when we first started working together. The complete change in the industry, how technology changes, how we approach projects, nothing has changed with the craftsmanship and the work that folks like Keith Lyford put into these buildings. The amount of effort and thought and technique and skills that he brings to the table are far beyond anything I could imagine doing myself, and I'm impressed every day by his efforts. So hopefully he is watching at home and he does get recognized for once in all these years of all the restoration he's done. There's an incredible amount of work that went into this project, from our project management to the college and their participation in it and the funding that they've provided. It's been a wonderful experience, and we're glad to see the chapel back in operation